He's from New York. He doesn't need to do any of this
Let me
stuff.
ask
You ever swim with great white sharks?
No.
Would you?
You signing up for that?
No.
Wait, what happened with the? Because we actually were discussing this in Aspen, and I didn't get the. What happened with the air failure?
All right, real quick. So
Fuck yes.
So-
a good fucking diving story
Yes.
is a fucking drinking
All right,
story.
So 2016 went out to Guadalupe Island with my laboratory, filmed 360 VR for fear stimulus that we could use back in the lab. For that trip, got dive certified. They have a surface cage right off the back of the boat, and then they drop a cage by crane about 40 feet below the surface.
Hang on, real quick. I want to. So you got certified for that trip.
Yes.
So how many hours had you spent in the water before this fucking?
No, that was year one. I did some
never
diving
mind.
in between,
Good.
so I spent a good amount of time.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you did like
Yeah.
a resort course and then went diving with great
got
sharks.
PADI certified in
Okay.
Monterey Bay, which was
Perfect.
scary as hell because
Scary
there's
as
all
fucking
kelp,
shit.
and the sharks will pick you off, and you will never see them coming.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was with my friend Michael Muller, who's a very well-known photographer down here in Los Angeles, who also he takes pictures of celebrities and sharks and does this beautiful shark art. You can see his stuff. It's spectacular. In any event, year two, 2017, we go back to get better footage with better cameras. And on the second day, I decide to go down in the cage again. 3 divers leave and the cage exit. And the way that you don't get eaten by a great white shark down there is when you see them coming, you swim toward them. And they interpret that as, oh, I guess you're not prey, and they bank off you and they leave you alone.
So counterintuitive.
It's pretty crazy. And those guys are on scuba. Wow. I'm in the cage alone, and I've been in the cage before. Now, mind you, it's dropped 40 feet below the surface. And there are a bunch of sharks around, and guys are out of the cage, and I'm breathing off a hookah line that runs up to the surface, right? Because you're not on scuba when you're in the cage, typically if you're staying in the cage. So I'm just kind of looking at this, and I'm like, it's cold down here, but I've been here before, and then no air coming through the hookah line. Not good. So I look up, and the hookah line got kind of boa constrictored up into a bundle. So I pop up, try not to, it's hard as concrete because it's cold at that depth. Okay, it's not super cold, but it's wetsuit cold. And that thing is like concrete. So I'm like, oh God. So I spit the thing out of my mouth, go down to the safety tank in the corner, turn the thing, nothing. It's empty. Go to the other safety tank.
I'm holding my breath listening to this
turn
story.
it,
That's
nothing.
insane.
It's empty. Okay, now I'm afraid. So pop up to the top of the cage. I have a weight belt on, right? I think, okay, I'm going to pop to the surface, but there's literally great white sharks everywhere. By the way, this is all caught on video because we've got cameras mounted everywhere. We got GoPros everywhere. Those guys are out of the cage. You can shout underwater. They're not going to hear you. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to shoot for the surface, which is what the sharks like if they're chasing a tuna. We actually posted on my Instagram and elsewhere a picture of a shark,
That
a
video
of a shark taking a tuna off the side of the boat.
I saw that.
he was he recorded
I shot that.
He shot that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I shot that.
With the blood in the water?
No, the one where the
shark
shark comes out,
comes out.
under the boat and chomps that tuna in half like a razor. Okay, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to die down here though, right?
Feel
so
free to pull that up,
Decide to take off my weight belt so I don't drop to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa. And as I'm doing that, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get eaten by a shark. Yeah, we have it on YouTube, and if you go, it's on my Instagram. You can scroll. There it is. That on Instagram, dopamine, where it says dopamine. It was back there. If you want to save, I forget how far back. Second one down. Yeah, second one down. That's me hiking. Yeah, this happened. With sound, it's good. I don't know.
Yeah, but look at this.
Watch this. So these are big sharks.
God.
Yeah, it's a big beast, and they are very streamlined in the water.
It's the fastest animal I've ever been head to head with. They move with such intention that when you think it'll slowly, but when it decides to turn, it's turned quicker than a bull in my opinion.
And down there, what they'll do is you'll be tracking one, and you'll be watching, and another one's coming to pick you off from the bottom. So that's why you need 3 divers in the water if you're going to be out of the cage. So I decided to hook my arms under the ladder. And I'm thinking, I'll hook you up with
Sorry. So
Muller.
at this point, you take that hook out.
I'm on top of the cage. I have no air. I haven't had a sip of air in probably 20, 30 seconds.
Okay, yeah,
but
'cause everything's
remember,
filled.
if you do a big and go under the pool water for 30 seconds a minute, you're okay. I didn't get the big gulp before.
Right.
I'm just sipping slow, and then all of a sudden, nada. So I put my arms underneath the ladder, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to shoot for the surface. And then one of the divers I was with turns around, and he sees me, I think, and he starts kicking his way toward me with carrying this big VR camera. It's like underwater vacuum cleaner is kind of how to best describe it. And I'm thinking, okay, I might pass out, but at least I'll float to the top, most likely. Finally, he gets back, this guy Brock, and we do the share air thing. So I'm finally like, and he's like, what is going on? But except now we have a problem because we're under there. There are two guys out. We're now sharing air off of his scuba tank. Well, eventually those other guys get out and we bail out. We emergencyed up to the surface. And when we get to the top, everyone's like, what happened? What happened? I'm like puking up water. A buddy of mine who was on that trip, who's a former SEAL team guy, just takes me aside of the boat and he just goes, so what did you learn from that experience? That was it. Like super mellow, typical SEAL, this is typical team guy. And I'm like, check the safeties. It's like, always check the safety. So it turns out that the divers had been sipping off the safety tanks on the way down because they want more air in their scuba tanks so they can stay out longer. So here's what happened. That night, I'm like obviously anxious. That didn't feel good. But I know enough about PTSD and I know enough about anxiety and the way that the brain works that I decided next morning, and I'm not saying this because I don't claim to be tough, but I got into my scuba gear, put on my scuba tank, went down in the cage, and cage exited the next day. Also caught on film if anyone wants to call bullshit on that. Now, I didn't do it to be tough. I did it because now I felt like I got past that experience. Yeah. I don't like to say I nearly died. I like to think that the Reaper came in and was like offered me a fist bump and I decided to give him the finger instead. It's kind of, but I'll tell you, by the time we got back across the US border, I thought to myself, okay, what am I doing, right? I'm like 44 years old, or 43 years old at the time. I'm, tenured professor at Stanford. I'm like, do I really need to be cage exit diving with great white sharks? And for me, that was the end. That was the last of any deliberate physical risk taking.
Was it very important that you did the thing the next day?
Yes.
Because I've had not the same experience, but things that have been traumatizing that you go, I got to get back.
Playing basketball.
You have to.
No, basketball.
You
basketball.
have to. You have
to. One, sure.
Hang on.
You have to confront it.
Blew
again.
out his knee and broke his arm in half.